Hi guys, welcome back to Sports with Mono and Mono. I'm Jim. I'm here with my brother Steve, also known as the Brothers Monahan, for our show. It's April 19th, 2020.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to our show. Hope everybody's doing well.
Yeah, I guess we start off with our well wishes to our fans and supporters and
Family, friends, supporters,
yeah.
etc., etc. And I think we're about 6 weeks into this now, something along those lines.
Yeah, it starts to seem like it's been going on, but I think maybe we're on the road to recovery here. I don't.
Well, that's optimistic.
I guess, but maybe that's because everybody's forced to wear a mask no matter where they go now.
That's right.
I was thinking of this, Steve. I was talking about it with somebody going, okay, so there's protests about, the quarantine and stay at home, right? But when you think about it, this is a pandemic that we've never seen before. And we fully support the people's right to protest.
Right.
But how many people go to these protests and pass corona from one person to the next, and indirectly somebody dies? And like I said, let's not get into political views, but I'm a Republican conservative, but I appreciate the people's right to protest. But this is something that has to be done. It's just my feeling on it, and it's caused the world to shut down. Economy, sports, and that's what we're all about.
Right. So let's delve into it. Hopefully, about 40, 45 minutes, we'll take our mind off, everyday
Yep.
stress everybody
Yep.
is experiencing. So, what do you want to open up with?
Well, this is going to be a first for Sports with Mono and Mono because I'm going to open up with boxing. And why am I opening up with boxing? Because last night I watched The Thriller in Manila. It was Ali Frazier 3. And watched all 14 rounds, and we'll explain why it was only 14 and not 15. It was awesome. And we talked about something about one of my favorite fights of all time was Cornelius Boza Edwards and Bobby Chacon. And if you could find that on YouTube, watch it because it was great.
Yeah.
But this was Joe Frazier, and this was Muhammad Ali, and this was right in our wheelhouse, and it was amazing, and I'll talk about it, but did you get a chance to see it?
Well, ESPN yesterday actually broadcast, I think, from noon on.
Greatest fights kind of thing?
So I was actually home before I had to run out. I actually watched the Foreman Ali.
Oh, God.
Right?
Awesome.
Awesome.
Keep going, because I only caught the Thriller in Manila. So,
right? So
what was on before that?
that was the first fight. So then I wasn't really around to watch really anything else. But when you think of the trilogy of Ali Frazier, I think the first fight, I'm 6 years old. It was 1971, I think. Right?
71, Madison Square Garden.
Right?
Yep.
And that was like the ticket to have. But that fight was fantastic too.
Of
right?
course.
So,
Of course.
Frazier obviously won by decision. He broke Ali's jaw. But, Ali came back and won the next two, right? And,
I thought Ali's jaw got broken by Ken Norton in Yankee Stadium.
Yeah, but Frazier
Tapped him?
Yeah.
All right.
He broke it too. But also, Joe Frazier was beaten up beyond words too in that fight. But, to be fair, I think Joe Frazier deserved the decision in the first one.
Right.
But then, with the history of Ali and Frazier, Ali really broke his chops, man. And really it got under Joe Frazier's skin where they were, not close for decades. And thank God, I think at the end of their lives they were able to reconcile. But those three fights.
In the second fight,
fantastic.
Ali Frazier 2, Ali won the second and the third. But that one, that the championship wasn't on the line. It was just an Ali Frazier rematch, and they were getting the money.
Yeah.
But the Thriller in Manila, and I want to
lived up to the billing.
And I watched it very, very closely, and it's been a long time since I've watched it. And I don't know if that was the origination of the rope-a-dope or whatever. But here's my perspective on Ali Frazier Thriller in Manila, right? 3.
Okay.
And it was awesome. Joe Frazier was like a pit bull, and just going after him and throwing
The left hook.
over and over again. And Ali just stood there and he took it. And you started to think, you said, you know, how much more of this can Muhammad Ali take, right? And every now and then he would unleash a fury and so forth. But I always said he didn't have that knockout power. And I said he's never going to knock Joe Frazier out, like with a one punch kind of thing. But I watched it and it went on and on around 6 and 7, and they were just throwing haymakers left and right. And Frazier was full of, you know, energy and so forth. But by like the 12th round,
Yeah.
he just threw so many punches he could barely stand him. That's when Ali just put this craftsmanship of a boxer on display and just went after him. And he just pummeled him and just hit him time after time again. And Frazier, his face was like, you know, the eyes were almost closed. And in the end of the 14th round, he's sitting down and you could tell he can't answer the bell.
He couldn't get off the stool.
But what an unbelievable 15 rounds of boxing. It was great.
Yeah.
It was so great. And a friend of mine, Mike Garvey from Naples, just texted me and said, you know, this is going on. And actually, I wasn't aware of it. And thank goodness I got a chance to watch it. It was amazing. 1975.
But that was the greatness of Muhammad Ali. I mean, you know, even
Genius almost.
right,
you know.
but you know, round after round, you know, these, you know, just you know, sting like a bee, float like a butterfly, sting like a bee, and it adds up, right?
And Frazier had him in the corner and just pummeling away
the
for
ribs and
12 rounds, just going on and on. And Ali's going, you got to run out of gas at some point.
Well,
and he
Ali
finally
was
did.
almost running out of gas too.
It was-
That's
you could
how
see
great
him
he
after the
fought.
bell in the 10th and the 11th. These guys were barely getting back to their chairs. you
And
know?
really, you know, kind of Rocky and Apollo Creed. You know, let's be real. You know, I think probably Sylvester Stallone probably, you know, took that fight and, you know, so like the rib shots and everything, you know, in
Body
Rocky,
blows.
the body blows. You know, I'm just throwing a theory out there that might have influenced him in you know, against Creed and, you know, Rocky 1, Rocky 2, that type of thing. But yeah, it was a great day. The boxing. And
was
again,
awesome.
there's nothing on other than revisiting history. So
Which
that-
is
that was
amazing,
great
and
stuff.
we're going to touch on that as we go forward on today's show, but certainly. But I got to tell you, it was awesome to watch, and this was 1975. This was a long, long time,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So, listen, we're going to move on, and our first segment is sponsored by Coriano Trucking of West Haverstraw, New York. And again, we hope them and their families doing okay, and
Yep.
thank you for your sponsorship.
Loyal sponsor. Thanks, Guy.
So, Stephen, you and I touched on the NFL draft, and that's coming up this week. I just want to recap.
I
kinda
can't
where-
wait.
Exactly, but I want to recap kind of where we are, and you know, I think we covered our top 10 picks
We
and
did.
some of these players and so forth. But you know, like I said, things change week to week, day to day.
Nothing
People can
yet,
trade,
though.
and
No
we don't know
trades
what's
yet.
right. But you know that's going to happen and throw a monkey wrench into the whole draft. But a couple observations I had on the draft: running backs, smallest crop ever, right? Outside of Jonathan Taylor, name one running back that could possibly go into the first round.
I'll name you two. Probably late 20s, I would say J.K. Dobbins of Ohio State could potentially be a first round.
I think he
And-
falls to the second.
And
but
DeAndre Swift of Georgia, I think, are the top two.
Three.
You know.
You wouldn't put Jonathan Taylor as the number one running back? in the draft?
Absolutely putting
Okay.
Jonathan Taylor. I'm just saying, you know.
All right, those are formidable possible first round
Right.
surprises.
But again, the NFL's a passing league, so you know you're going to get value in the second, third rounds for running backs. So.
Right.
And then the other, I don't know, rumor is that the Jacksonville Jaguars are looking to get rid of Leonard Fournette. So, you know, Jacksonville's I think they're at 9. Float the idea out there.
I wouldn't give you a six pack for Leonard Fournette.
Well, no, but my point is if the Jags want to move up, then...
But he's not exactly trade bait. He's not somebody
No, my
that...
point is they're going to have to give a first round for next year and that thing, but they can maybe throw in Leonard Fournette to entice.
I'm glad, a
So
throw-in.
I'm just throwing it out there
A
because
throw-in,
a trade hasn't happened yet,
Right.
and we all know a trade will happen before
Right.
you know. before the draft or during the draft. Or
But here
whatever.
was another observation I had about some of the prospects coming out. Like I said, I kind of thought the running back class was a little weak. You know what's even weaker? The linebackers. Outside of Isaiah Simmons, who probably will go to the Giants.
Yeah.
Although I wouldn't have a problem if they took, who's that, Tristan Wirfs?
Out of Iowa.
Iowa.
But we talked about it. I think if the Giants get a phone call and they want to drop a couple slots, I think that's when they're going to go offensive lineman. But I think that, again, we've talked about this multiple times. I think this Isaiah Simmons is probably, to me, going to be the best defensive player in the draft and have a solid career. So if the Giants stay at 4, my pick is, again, I'm not wavering, Isaiah Simmons.
You're conceding that the Redskins can't possibly pass up on Chase Young at the second pick in the
No,
draft?
I got him locked in
Okay.
with Washington at number 2. And
How about the quarterback position, though? Here's the thing. Like I said, I've said all along, I think Tua would be a great fit for Miami. But there's a lot of speculation that they like Justin Herbert just as much and so forth. So they'll go back to back, possibly, right?
yeah,
Chargers and Dolphins kind of thing.
so Mel Kiper, again,
And we like Mel.
I love Mel. Mel's been doing this longer than anybody.
Absolutely.
But I saw his mock draft, and actually Mel has the Dolphins taking Herbert, and the Chargers.
Yeah, he
taking
did.
Tua.
He changed on that.
I'm still saying the Dolphins take Tua, and Herbert goes to the Chargers.
That's how I see it too.
We'll see.
And they're both great quarterbacks. I mean, but it's a hit or miss.
Yeah.
But like I said, I thought that was kind of interesting. There's not a lot of linebackers in college football that are coming out. Outside of Isaiah Simmons, I don't think there's one linebacker that Mel Kiper said is a first-round draft pick.
There's a kid, Zach Bourne, out of Wisconsin, that I think, potentially, and again, I'm talking, late first round type of thing. So New England drafts at, when are they drafting?
New England?
They're at, they're going to peg them.
High 20s?
Yeah, high 20s.
20s? Yeah.
So they have a lot of needs.
You
And
think they're going quarterback?
No, I think they got a lot of needs. So I actually, I got them taking? I got them taking this AJ Epinesa, defensive lineman. I think he's from Iowa too. That's just a guess, but New England has a lot of needs.
Yeah, when you get down to 20,
well,
the
they
whole
lost
board
Kyle.
has been shuffled.
They need linebacker help because Van Noy's gone and Jamie Collins is gone, and
You don't think there's a possibility that he's got a quarterback in his back pocket that we don't know about that
Not
he could
in-
make that first pick?
no, not in the first
No?
round. I don't see it. It could be, this kid Jordan Love, something like that. But New England drafts pretty well.
And I think about that when I
They have a
thought
lot
about
of
it.
needs. Is my point.
Right, Jordan Love would, it doesn't sound like the traditional New England Patriots drop back quarterback that they had for 19 years, right?
Yeah.
Kind of thing. But, he did draft, a Jacoby Brissett back in the day, so it sounds like he's willing to
Yeah, but in the third round or something.
adapt to the NFL style quarterback,
Well,
which
let's
we've
listen.
seen.
They need a quarterback. They're not going into the season with Jarrett Stidham as their starter.
Well, I think they don't have any choice. I mean,
Well, as of right now, but again, I floated.
they're not going to sign Andy Dalton.
I floated that out. I'm still. I'm not discounting that.
They threw him. The Bengals have been dangling him to the Oakland Braves.
Well, who would you want, Andy Dalton or Bobby Hoyer to be your Brian Hoyer?
That's a trick question. I think I would probably, believe it or not, take Hoyer.
Really?
Yeah, I'm just not an Andy Dalton fan. We've seen enough of it, but
Why? Because he's got red hair and freckles. Rusty.
exactly. Right, but then we can throw Carson Wentz into the Richie Cunningham class as well.
Oh yeah.
But listen, so it's going to be a virtual draft. We're looking forward to it. Like I said, it doesn't matter to us whether it's virtual or not because we'll be watching it from home.
And like I said, it's going to get Super Bowl ratings. And I made the comment it may surpass Roots or the last episode of MASH or Who Shot JR.
Right.
Because there is nothing else out there that
No.
is
No, that is
sport, like current sports related.
that's on our calendar for sure.
Right.
So. But like I said, I'm looking forward to the draft. The WNBA, they did their virtual draft. It went okay, right? We knew the number one pick was going to be Sabrina Ionescu and so forth. And
Yeah.
a lot of trades, though. There were a lot of movement in the WNBA on that draft night. Draft picks and then trading them for established players and so forth. But I wouldn't begin to tell you. I know beyond the top 10 players in the league, kind of thing. You know.
Okay.
But so let's move on. Couple of things. Like I said, there's no live broadcast of sports and so forth. So coming up is this special, which is kind of intriguing. It's called The Last Dance.
Right.
Michael Jordan story, the inside. I mean,
10 parts.
Right, but what don't we know already? Right, that this guy was ferocious in his desire to win and to be the best and so forth. So now we got to watch behind the scenes with Phil Jackson and Scottie Pippen, who without Michael Jordan, it's like Harry Carson without Lawrence Taylor, right? I mean, does Harry and Scottie go to the Hall of Fame? Pippen for sure. Harry on the fence, to me.
No, I mean, again, this is new. I think that this will be a ratings bonanza for ESPN.
Yeah, they've been pumping it up, for sure.
And 10 parts, though.
I don't know. I've seen enough highlights of Michael Jordan.
Well,
I've seen them all.
We've seen it all.
But do we need this locker room thing?
Yeah, I think it's interesting, the somewhat behind the scenes type of thing. I'm a
Right.
big fan of that stuff.
All right, I'll watch it.
Right.
Right, I'm going to watch it. I don't know if I'm going to watch 10 hours of it, but there was some interesting thing I saw this morning, and you know this guy, former St. John's Redmond, Bill Wennington,
Of course.
was on this morning interview. Classy guy, very funny and deliberate, and we remember him with that.
Chris Mullen, Walter Barry.
I was wondering about that. Was he in that season? Or was he later with the Raphael Addison
No.
days at Syracuse and so forth?
They don't get to the Final Four without the big man in there.
I was wondering if he was on that team. or
I'm
not.
sure, seniors, juniors, sophomores, freshmen, right? But Bill Wennington was a St. John's guy.
And he played with Michael Jordan, so they'll be interviewing him on this. And they were talking about, getting followed around. It was like the precursor in sports to
So-
keeping with the Kardashians,
Yeah,
right?
St. John's made the fun, it was Mullen in the early 80s.
Yeah.
So, makes sense.
Yeah.
So,
But I'm looking forward to it. I'll watch it.
I'm going to watch it.
But he's one of our guys. Listen, Michael Jordan is something
Michael
that
Jeffrey Jordan.
we don't dismiss his legacy in the game
I'm
of basketball.
gonna assume they're gonna touch on some gambling behind the scenes that Michael.
Very
Michael,
touchy subject, and I got some thoughts. I'm not sure I'm going to bring it up on the show, but he was a big time gambler, and there was some speculation regarding him not making some payments. And,
Speculation.
right. I'm not going to go into it because it's. I'm sure they'll cover it on this
Right.
because he gives his father a lot of credit, but it had something to do with his father and his father's passing, right? But yeah, we'll tune in for that. But I thought the Bill Wennington would be a good, out of the past St. John's guy that I
Yeah.
knew you knew who he was.
Absolutely.
Sure. Good player too. And he could
Yeah.
shoot from the post and,
Yeah.
and play in the paint. He was a
Very
good player.
serviceable rebounder, the whole thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So if we move on, we'll wanted to mention that this segment is sponsored by Lynch Motors of Manchester, Connecticut. And again, we hope his family and everybody's doing well from this virus, and we thank them for their support.
Thank you, Lynch Motors.
But when we talk about the NHL, because I watched the Rangers Kings 2012
Wow.
NHL Finals, and you and I have talked numerous times about
I think it was 2015.
No, actually it wasn't.
Rangers Kings. Not 2012.
Really?
Because
Okay.
I went to the Stanley Cup Finals.
But Henrik Lundqvist, the goalie, and the reputation is King Henrik, and we said, that was their chance.
Yes, it was. It was their only chance.
Yeah.
And again, the Rangers lost a couple games in overtime in that series. So, they battled and, the Kings prevailed.
But it was cool to watch, and I catching some old time, even old Devils, watching Scott Stevens, and that guy was a warrior.
Yeah.
You know? But interesting milestone that I saw from Wayne Gretzky retired 20 years ago yesterday.
I saw that.
And that was, when we talk about the NHL, we talk about number 99 and in Michael Jordan status, right?
The absolute greatness.
The greatest.
Right.
And, you know, we're going to touch base on some milestones in each particular sport, but I thought that was a milestone that was very interesting. You and I used to fight each other over getting the newspaper at first thing in the morning. See how many points Gretzky scored when he was
He
playing
only
on
had
the
6 tonight?
Right. Exactly. You know, and scoring
He only
100
had 2 goals and 4 assists?
and scoring 100 points was tough to do in the NHL. There were only a few guys that he
scored
got 200.
215 points in one season, which will never, ever even be approached.
And we're going to talk about that in a little bit, about those kind of milestones, but that's up there, and you just stole my thunder on that one. No
But my
question.
first thought about Gretzky is the greatness of him, obviously. So the Islanders, of course, when they're, 4 cups in a row. And they beat Edmonton for the 4th one.
Yep.
And Gretzky, I'm going to assume was 22 maybe at that point, 23, something like that. Messier, Lowe, everything. Glenn Anderson, Fuhr, the whole thing.
Oh my God, you can go on
But
and
that
on.
following year, rematch, and Edmonton
Became
beat the New York Islanders and ended their dynasty.
Yep.
And then the rest
started their own.
then the rest is history.
Yep.
Right?
Great highlight. I love watching it. We could probably name most of the Edmonton Oilers of that era. That was just like we could the Islanders of their Stanley Cup years, the
No
4
doubt.
years, right?
No doubt.
It was awesome. Awesome to watch, but that's a big milestone. 20 years ago, the great one hung up his skates. Love it.
And not only is that single season number never going to be approached, his lifetime number. 2,857 freaking points.
Points.
Will never be. But we talked about Ovechkin a couple weeks ago.
You did. You still put it out there, but this takes a little
And actually,
detour, because they're not playing this season.
But actually, I talked to a couple guys that are really passionate about hockey, and they said, "Nah, Ovechkin's not going to break it."
That's where I am.
I said, "He's got a shot. I think it's 4 more years, and
The point record's out of reach.
it's
though.
the goals.
Right.
It's the all-time goals.
Goals.
Right?
Okay.
We shall see."
We shall see.
But Wayne Gretzky, 20 years ago yesterday, outstanding.
God. Number 99. When you think of that number, there's only one person you think of, right?
Right, but there's also just a handful of athletes we've seen in our lifetime that were Babe Ruth of their sports.
And when you think about numbers, famous numbers in sports, when you think about number 3, it's Babe Ruth. When you think of 99, it's Wayne Gretzky. Right? 32.
No, wait,
Jim Brown.
99, Mark Gastineau comes to mind first.
We
Not
do.
Wayne Gretzky.
We do have some Jet fans out there. We didn't mean to slight you all.
All-time sack leader for the New York Jets.
Oh, God.
Ex-boxer.
Head of the sack exchange. Right.
Bridget Nielsen's ex-husband.
For what, 10 minutes? In between Rocky and, who? Charles Durning or something?
Exactly.
Very good. So listen, like I said, we covered a couple of the other sports, but Major League Baseball, not a lot going on. But there was somebody that we were talking about, one of the funnier names in baseball lore, Bobby Winkles, right? Former manager in the major leagues, but most notably, college coach.
Arizona State University. Bobby Winkles passed, I think yesterday,
Yeah,
early 90s.
at 90.
Good run.
Yeah.
But he's famous. He won 3 national titles at Arizona State. And he coached Reggie Jackson and I think Rick Monday.
Was he on the same team as Reggie?
They're kind of the same age.
Same era, right?
Same
They both
era.
played in the '77 World Series against
Three
each
national
other.
titles, so.
'78. I mean, sorry about that. Yeah.
But Bobby Winkle then became a major league manager.
Yeah.
4 years or so, split between the Angels and the Oakland A's.
Oakland A's. But there's not a lot going on in baseball. Like I said, they're trying to get this kick started because, baseball season would be underway right now. But Steve, I just want to touch base with you on this question because it's a topic not just for baseball, but playing these games or starting this season with no fans in the stands. I mean, I know it may need to be done in order to get some of these games in. But something just seems missing, like it's going to lose the luster and so forth. I mean, do you think it's something we should consider? Or is it something that people question? They say, look, no fans or not, there's still players on the field that are within 6 feet of each other, and they could be, we're going to play baseball with masks on?
Well, I mean, obviously it's got to be sanctioned that,
Right, but
Corona, whatever.
Corona-free
But
zones?
I actually spoke to somebody about this the other night, debate. And I said, the money's in the TV. Okay? So, these TV contracts for all the sports are billions and billions of dollars.
The
right?
point is people are going to watch the games anyway. But,
Exactly. So if you do they're losing money, concessions, and ticket prices and all that. However, that's where the money is in TV, and it's a unique circumstance by where, if they're going to play baseball, and again we're talking a shortened season. I can't even fathom how many games they're going to get.
I know, but do we want to watch Notre Dame play Michigan with nobody in the stands?
Well, again, we talked about Mike Gundy last week, and it's about the health.
He retracted his statements.
I know, but the point is, right? The debate is, do they play without fans? And we're talking 60, 70,000, 80,000, 90,000. The big house in Michigan.
100 and change, yeah.
Right?
Right.
So, if
If need be, do it. Is that what you're
well,
saying?
I'm saying, if it's cleared and this corona's gone by football in September or whatever, I'm sure fans will be in the stands. But if it's still lingering and they want to play football, well, then nobody's going to be.
I mean, it's just as much as we want this stuff to happen. Watching Michigan Notre Dame with nobody in the stands except the peanut vendor to make, I don't know. And I think you got to take into account these are players. They're still people. I mean,
Right.
They could be wearing masks, but
Exactly. You're not going to hear beer here, beer here.
right. But does it diminish the risk? That's the whole question. Does it diminish the risk?
To be determined.
Right. I mean, thank goodness this morning I got to watch, replays of the Bassmaster Championships, down in Florida, which is, by the way, pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
Whether you're a fisherman or not, this is pretty cool. When you pull that pole out of the water and you got a largemouth bass from 7 pounds, it's kind of pretty cool.
Right.
And you don't need an audience for that, right? It's the guy on the boat, on the bass boat, and
Like the Sopranos, the talking fish. If the big pussy is,
yeah,
sent to his
ultimate demise.
ultimate demise, the fish on the plaque.
Some good footage from Asbury Park down there from The Sopranos too. Actually, it was awesome.
It's outstanding.
That's our old neighborhood. Yeah. But anyway, that's a topic, and we're looking forward to sports picking up and so forth. But the concept of it is something I'm wrestling with now. That's
Understood.
the only thing.
Understood.
So listen, before we move off the sports, because we're trying to think. Steve and I are trying to think some of our greatest feats. We talked about some of the greatest players we saw, the greatest players we think should be designated as the all-time, like 99 and number 23, Michael Jordan. Nobody would argue with those.
Right.
But baseball, you got the Ty Cobb Club, you got the Gehrig and Ruth and all those kind of clubs.
But I would say of all sports, baseball probably has the most
up for debate, right?
More like unbreakable records or feats.
And that's what I wanted to touch base on. So when we talk about unbreakable feats, 2,130 games from Lou Gehrig, and then somebody from our audience would chime in, and we hope they do, and send us an email at sportswithmonoandmono@gmail.com. Cal Ripken, he did ultimately break the record, but are we comparing that generation to this generation?
Well, yeah, 2,632 games. I mean, yeah, you know, you have to tip your hat to Cal Ripken, especially in the modern
era of baseball. Agreed.
Right? So
agreed.
So
not diminishing it, but
no, but we're going to throw out a couple baseball records that I think are absolutely never going to be approached. But back in the day, and for decade after decade, Lou Gehrig's 2,130
stood.
Yeah, but it wasn't even thought that it could even be broken, right? But I'm going to throw out a couple here. Cy Young, 511 wins, right? Standard, nobody's even come close.
Okay.
Nolan Ryan, 7 career no-hitters.
Pretty formidable.
I'm going to go with Ricky Henderson, 1,406 stolen bases. Will never be broken. Ty Cobb, highest career batting average, 367. Will never be broken.
Love Ty Cobb.
I'm going to give it another
The
one.
movie with Tommy Lee Jones was awesome, by the way.
Fantastic. Hack Wilson, 191 RBIs.
Yep.
this season.
Well, here's one. I'll throw one out. Lou Gehrig had 173 runs batted in 1927. The year Babe Ruth had 60 home runs and drove in 154 runs.
Right.
So that means he got up to bat at least 60 times with the bases empty and still drove in on them.
Right. If I remember
73.
correctly, he batted 373 that year. Stratomatic days.
Oh God, we loved it. But yeah, those were some great feats and so forth.
And I'll give you 2 more. DiMaggio's 56 game. Yeah, well, what's the closest? Pete Rose, 44,
yeah,
right?
yeah. Some obscure guy had one close in the 40s, back in the 70s or 80s. I forgot who it was.
And then the other one is, you know, we have to acknowledge Pete Rose. 4,256 hits. Yeah, now was Ichiro, you know, combined with Japan, have more now apparently? Yeah, but we're just talking Major League Baseball.
But when we talk about Major League Baseball feats, how about this? And I'll throw it out. He became a prominent guy in the New Jersey, in the United States Senate. Jim Bunning,
Mr. Bunning?
back-to-back no-hitters.
No, not Jim Bunning. Johnny Vandermeer.
I mean, Johnny Vandermeer, you're right.
Johnny Vandermeer is from Midland Park, New Jersey, about 3 towns over, too.
Cincinnati Reds?
Back-to-back no-hitters. Pretty good.
Good call. Caught me off guard there. I'm going to check my research department there. But when we talk about, you know, stuff like those feats in Major League Baseball, and again, you know, 60 home runs of Babe Ruth in 1927 that stood forever until the fraud of the steroid.
Well, it's
era.
funny you mention that. So I was talking to somebody, again, you know, there's nothing else to talk about. But we talked about, something about Barry Bonds' name came up. And I said, Barry Bonds was going to go to the Hall of Fame as a string bean from the Pittsburgh Pirates and was well on his way.
Absolutely.
So the fraud of the summer of McGuire and Sosa, of this ridiculous home run chase,
Which
right?
I didn't catch tied to steroids, I got to be honest.
So those numbers to me,
Yep.
complete frauds.
Right.
So Barry Bonds comes into spring training, because I read the book Game of Shadows. Comes in, he's jealous as hell about the attention these two are getting. All of a sudden, he walks in like the Incredible Hulk, right?
Right. Rock Johnson.
Yeah,
You know.
right? But the point is, baseball to me is pure. 73 home runs, no way do I acknowledge that.
Right.
To me, Roger Maris at 61 still has the record. To me. asterisk aside, right? Because he broke the Babe at 60, and because I guess his season was a little bit longer than the Babe's.
But there's the asterisk. That's exactly what I'm talking
So my
about.
point about Barry Bonds is, I personally do not acknowledge his 73. I think it's a complete farce.
I mean, but you're right. When he
But he's
first
a great-
came up, he was going to the Hall of Fame regardless. He was that great of a baseball player.
He was.
And it
I'm
got
not-
tarnished.
I am not knocking the guy's talent.
But anybody that dismisses Babe Ruth hitting 60 home runs in 1927, saying, "Oh, it was the ball, it was the bat," well, he hit more home runs than the National League combined. I mean, come on.
Right.
Why didn't anybody else even hit 20?
And he ate more hot dogs than the National League.
Exactly, between
Combined.
innings. Most hot dogs between innings.
Give me another one, son. Make it two.
If you're one of us, you'll take a bite.
Part of the Yankees reference.
All right, but listen, before we move off the feats, I want to talk about football. And the one thing that came to mind for me was, and I please don't hate me for this. We're just talking about on the field performance was O.J. Simpson getting 2,000 yards back in 1973. It was unbelievable.
2003, at Shea Stadium against the New York Jets.
On a snowy, blustery day.
That's right.
It was
We
awesome.
watched it live.
And, and I know why, because I was supposed to go to the Giants-Vikings game that same day. And it was the same storm.
Wow, 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 wow.
But that season Simpson had was awesome.
It was.
But when you think about other guys, Bradshaw and Montana, they were 4-0 in Super Bowls. These are records that can't be dismissed. Even though Steve and I both concede maybe one of the greatest players of all time was James Brown from Cleveland Browns. And,
Via Syracuse University.
I mean, subsequently, obviously, 2,000 yards was surpassed a couple times by Tyrell Davis and by Eric Dickerson. But again, asterisk, 16-game season. Nothing like the 14-game season that Simpson had in 1973. But that's a feat that initially comes to mind for me. What's your, when you say football, greatest feat ever, what comes to your mind, Steve?
Well, greatest feat ever. I mean, that's a tough one. I mean,
We could talk
I'll
about...
throw something like a Barry Sanders out there that I think a lot of people don't remember. 14 consecutive games of 100 freaking yards.
That's pretty good.
Pretty good. Like Johnny Unitas had the 47-game streak of a touchdown pass, things like that.
Right.
Or, Dan Marino, throws for 48 touchdown passes in late 80s and whenever he was on fire.
But first thing that come to
But in
mind wasn't
today's-
Michael Strahan's sack record.
Oh, God. It's another fraud.
Right. But Simpsons wasn't.
No, my
It wasn't.
point is, in today's football, right? Brady's got 50, right?
Yep.
Peyton Manning, right?
Well, these guys put up numbers.
But
Marino,
it's
Elway.
but it's a different game. is my
Exactly,
point,
big time.
right?
But running the football and getting 2,000 yards in 14 games was
Pretty good.
it jumped out at me.
You have to, you have to acknowledge that.
Yep.
Now, since 1994 on, who is O.J. Simpson?
Exactly.
The man, the myth, the legend.
The murderer.
Allegedly.
Right. But listen, we would love to hear from you guys what you think your great sports moment feats are, over the course of time, and it could be right down from golf to boxing to,
Right.
to baseball.
Right. Everything from like Tiger Woods winning the Masters, by 12 strokes to,
Oh my God,
you know,
Pebble Beach, right?
right?
Yep. Awesome. But please send us an email and give us your thoughts because we'd love to hear them.
Right.
So listen, before we move on and sign off, we're going to touch base on some things, let's say a little bit out of the sports realm. But this segment sponsored by D. Filippi's Bakery of Monticello, New York, who we, like I said, with all our sponsors, we hope everybody's healthy and happy. And
And I'd like to say one other thing about D. Filippi's Bakery. So, if you can go to their website, capital D, small e, capital F, I, L, I, P, P, I, S, Di Filippi's Bakery. The owner is doing this Cooking Through COVID GoFundMe thing.
Very nice.
And it's for the frontline workers, it's for families in need in Sullivan, Orange counties, in the Catskills, Hudson Valley region. Ask for Carmela, and so go to her webpage. I think is the easiest thing to do, and you'll
They have a
see-
GoFundMe page.
yeah, so you'll find it on her website, and then if you need any more information, I'm sure she'll reach out to you. So
Yep.
we thank Di Filippi's Bakery for their sponsorship, and it's a great cause that they're doing to help families in need.
Absolutely. We thank them very much. So listen, before we move on, I just want to bring a couple of milestones because this is something that Steve and I, we love. We love the movie that was made, but I saw the real life. It was 50 years ago, the Apollo 13, with Jim Lovell, and I saw an interview with him, and he's still kicking. He's still kicking.
Houston, we have a problem.
Exactly. And it was so awesome and so unbelievable. I was 7 years old. So was I entrenched in this what went on? No. But I got to thank Ron Howard for bringing it to the big screen, and now it makes you appreciate the significance of that event
Right.
and how awesome it was, and how much Steve and I, we worshiped like the Neil Armstrongs and the whole space program. It was
Correct.
so unbelievable. It was 50 years ago last week.
Right.
Great.
So that's a great acknowledgement.
Yep. But one last thing from, like I said, we all been tied to our television sets and so forth, but also music. And I saw a good special that kind of ties both. And I saw a Kenny Rogers biography on AMC. I forgot how many hits this guy had. And it was a great story because this guy was eating kibbles and bits for years and years and years, right? Total success story. And then he started making money. Big time money. Mansions, planes, yachts, the whole thing. It was awesome. I highly recommend watching it. And I was listening to some music from Kenny Rogers today. Forgotten how many hits he had. It was cool to watch.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's a good acknowledgement. Kenny passed a couple weeks ago now, and yeah, boy, he hit it big.
Oh, my
late
gosh.
70s and early 80s and things like that. So
and became a monster in this business, and it was
Yeah.
cool to see. It
So
really was.
So let's transition to the notable passings, which there are several,
Yes.
unfortunately. So let's start with the
We
Green
always
Bay-
end our show this way, right?
So let's start with a notable Green Bay Packer during the Vince Lombardi era. Mr. Willie Davis passed away.
I didn't hear that, actually.
Yes. Hall of Famer, one of Vince Lombardi's all-time favorite players. So
Right? Had to be on the 67, 68 Packer
yeah,
teams,
I
of
mean,
course.
he was instrumental in their run. Hank Steinbrenner,
Yes.
son of the boss,
The Führer.
the theater.
General von Steingraber's
That's
son.
right.
That's
Joe
right.
Gallo, the cartoonist in the Daily News. So,
Oh, every week. We
Right.
couldn't wait. Yep.
so Hank passed away at 63.
Had a long illness,
Yeah,
apparently.
he was in charge of the Yankees for about 8 minutes, and is most notable for giving A-Rod the extension. So anyway,
Yep. Okay.
we're Yankee family and notable passing.
One of the first families of baseball.
Yeah,
So-
and then I'm not really a big WWE guy, but I know people that are, and Howard Finkel passed away, who I think was like the ring announcer, probably part of the shtick.
He was kind of a promoter behind the scenes,
Yeah,
but yeah.
but influential in WWE, so
And you and I were never glued to the TV to watch it. We knew it was more of a comedy than anything.
Oh, God.
But we couldn't doubt how the impact it had. You filling arenas watching this nonsense.
Totally.
But good call, Howard Finkel.
So Howard Finkel, R.I.P.
Yep.
Now, one of my favorite actors, Brian Dennehy.
Big fan of his.
And Brian passed away a couple days ago, or 3-4 days ago, at age 71.
Yep.
Great actor, big guy,
Quite a resume.
quite
this
a
guy.
very well respected, and some great roles. And
Film and stage, actually.
Yeah, Death
apparently.
of a Salesman.
Yeah.
Was one of his Broadway things of, maybe
He
10
won an
years.
Emmy for that, to be honest with you.
Or a Tony.
I mean, a lot of us, if you're not sure who Brian Dennehy was, he was the sheriff in
Rambo.
First Blood.
First Blood
Was the
Rambo.
movie. Yep.
Exactly. So Brian Dennehy, also, Tommy Boy, Tommy Callahan Sr. So
I know, which you brought
Chris
that up,
Paul.
and I have shamefully, whether or not I'm admitting it or not, never seen Tommy Boy.
Yeah, we would love some feedback from our audience on the Tommy Boy guys.
And where that fits in the top 10 comedies of all time.
I think Tommy Boy is one of the funniest comedies out there.
Top 5? Animal House,
No,
Blazing
no,
Saddle kind
no,
of thing?
No, top 15, top
Okay.
20. So Brian Dennehy passed away, and we just had already talked about Bobby Winkles, a baseball guy.
Yep.
So, unfortunately, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 could be Sports with Mono and Mono week record.
Well, let's hope we don't have any more of those. So,
Yeah.
But listen, thanks for joining us, everybody. And like
Send
I said,
us an email, sportswithmonoandmono@gmail.com.
yep.
And we'd love to hear some feedback. And again, if there's any notable records or unbreakable, don't confine it just to baseball. We'd love to hear,
Yep.
the 4 major sports in particular. But
And like I said, we got a lot of listeners out in the West Coast and in Walhalla in Arkansas and Bernie and Rusty in Syracuse and Jay in the Northeast, this kind of thing. Tom Kramer in Dublin, California. We cover it all, so give us your feedback. We'd love to hear it. And again, before we sign off, I just want to say all the best to you guys and health
stay
for your
healthy,
family.
right?
Yeah, I don't know
And,
what to do, right?
hopefully everybody business back to normal soon. But I still think we still have a ways to go to navigate here. But
In the meantime, we'll live on the past and great highlights that are on television and so forth. But we really do appreciate you listening to us, and we thank you very much. And stay safe out there.
and we'll talk to you next week. Thank
Okay.
you. Bye.
Bye.